we have a problem.
Okay, so in this anime, Subaru, the main character, is a guy who shows up in a world that he's never been in before, and he basically has the task of figuring out what the heck is going on. It didn't take him very long for him to jump to conclusions about the fact that he must have been brought into a video game type world where there must be quests and there must be like starter items and things like that to get him going on his journey, which is pretty much the wrong assumption to make. It looks to me like he was transported to a legitimate other world with just the resources that he had at the time, which ironically happened to be the contents of a purchase that he just made from a convenience store on his way out from the convenience store at late night, and he got transported new world where there's like elves and giants and people have special abilities, special powers, there's magic. And he basically has to navigate this new world to figure out exactly what it is that he wants to do. And it turns out that he pretty much goes along with just trying to hang out with the first pretty girl that he sees that helps him. And this happens to be an elf, a blonde-haired elf, basically. I forget what her name is. This is the first episode, so we're just going to keep it basic here. And this character is trying to find an item that was stolen from her. Interestingly enough, she doesn't even know what the thief looked like who stole the item from her, so she mistakes the main character Subaru possibly for a thief and helps him out of a tricky situation in the beginning of the episode when he was about to be jumped, or in the process of being jumped actually, by a gang of delinquents who luckily don't have any special powers, but they did have some dangerous weapons and they were kicking the crap out of Subaru. So the story goes on, and you see a relationship being fostered between Subaru and this main character. And they end up tracking down the location of where this thief might have gone in an attempt to sell the item that she stole from the elf. Well, Subaru and the main character, spoiler alert, somehow are killed. He gets his belly sliced open and they bleed to death right there on the floor of the shop. And it was a pretty gruesome and horrific scene. And Subaru somehow, I would call it respawning or coming back to life in a different area, or in the same area that he found himself when he originally transported into that world, starting over. But the catch is, time has reset. It's almost like when you die in a video game and you gotta play the mission all over from the beginning. And Subaru is basically unaware of this. He immediately runs back to the shop, and in doing so, he cuts down a bunch of time, and he makes it to the shop before the girl does who stole the badge. And he gets a chance to interact with her, and he basically manages to get the item back. But in the process, not knowing anything about the world, he let the merchant and the buyer of the stolen item know that he knew the person who the item was stolen from, and that he intended to return it back to that person. And we don't really understand what's going on in the story right now, but from my understanding, there's a conflict that's going on in this world that's very complex. And Subaru hasn't asked enough questions. He doesn't know what's going on, and he's slap dab in the middle of a dangerous conflict. And he gets killed again. And this time he manages to witness the shop owner and the thief get butchered by this crazy woman with this large sword, who he then tries to fight and gets his stomach sliced open again and dies. And she kind of, this was one of the most gruesome parts of the anime. And I might pause here so that you can see. She slices his stomach open, and she stands above him and counts down with him until the moment of his death. It's pretty chilling, actually, to see in the anime. I might do a still shot. After that happened, Subaru finds himself waking up again in front of the shop for the third time, where he catches a glimpse of the silver-haired girl, and he runs up to her and starts calling out her name. And he gets her attention, but the twist to the story is the name that she gave him turns out not to be her actual name. And it was just a name that she gave him at the time for whatever reason that she might have had. And it must have been the name of someone that she knew. She seemed to be offended to be called by that name. So Subaru's really confused. He hasn't connected the dots yet that the name that he was given wasn't the real name, and that he's been traveling back in time every time he's killed by this mercenary, or by the person that is going to buy the item that was stolen from the elf girl. So he keeps getting murdered by this woman and going back in time and trying to remedy the situation without realizing that he's going back in time and that he has information that no one else has, while at the same time he lacks the knowledge of the world around him to really make sense of anything that's happening. So far, guys, this is probably the best anime that I've seen so far this season. The animation is beautiful, the colors are beautiful, the story is completely original. This thing is a 10 out of 10 in the making, and usually I'm really good at picking these. So I'm definitely going to be doing more reviews of this anime. If you guys want to see some more of that, check me out, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Review Hunter.